Hey, 12th grade, welcome to Wednesday. We're on our third day of the week for remote learning. We're going to start by listening to our podcast this week, just episode 1 of Serial. So I'm going to share my screen with you in a second, and I'm going to walk you through the slides themselves, the transcript that's available to you, the website for the podcast, and the document that will be due at the end of the week. You'll have a few days to start working on that. Okay. So, episode 1 listening, we're on our third objective of the week. I can use close listening to answer podcast related questions about Serial episode 1. So, close listening, similar to close reading, wherein we read once just for gist and understanding and overall. We read a second time to deepen our understanding. Maybe we look at the structure of the text, and then the third time we look to really build our analysis. Close listening is similar to that. You may not be listening 3 times because the podcast is so long, but you may find yourself going back and re-listening to certain parts to deepen on your understanding and really grasp what's being said. So close listening requires you as the student to actively listen to information that is being provided by the speaker. So in this case, it's not a live recording. It's not live. It's a recording of an audio recording. And that part about being active is super important, because if you're actively listening to something, it means that you're giving it 110% of your attention. So when we're listening to these podcasts, and I kind of said this yesterday, we want to make sure that we're not listening and texting and watching TV and making lunch in the background. You want to try to put yourself in as quiet of a space as you can in your home or your apartment. Only focus on the podcast itself. Similar to if you were to plug in your headphones and be on the subway and close your eyes and listen to a song that you like, you want to try to give this podcast the same amount of undivided attention. So our objectives for today is, first, we're going to preview the questions for episode 1. This is kind of like an accountability tracker so that I can see that you are actively listening. You are welcome to fill in these questions as you listen, or if you want to just listen once and then go back and re-listen for the parts of the question, you can do that as well. Closely listening, as I just said, don't keep just the podcast on in the background. There's a lot of information, so you have to really be an active listener. In addition, I will show you the transcript, which is available to you on the stream. So what would be really great, if this works for you, is if you had the podcast in your ears and you were following along with the transcript. Maybe that's too much for you. Maybe you just need to listen, but you have the transcript available to you if that's a resource that you find beneficial. Tomorrow's class, I want you to come prepared with one talking point that you would like to be that you would like to discuss. So that can be something that you learned. It could be something that totally confused you and you would like further clarification on. It can be something that really piques your interest and kind of hooked you into the podcast a bit more. It could be something that alarms or concerns you. It's kind of an open choice here. Just bring something that you feel comfortable discussing. You can also, and I'll show you the website as well, you can also use the resources on the website. There's a lot of different artifacts that Sarah Koenig puts into the Serial website that reflect that specific episode. So the first thing I'm going to show you is the episode questions. Here we have, this is the document that is available to everyone. This is just an overview, like a summary of the episode. This is how long the listening time is. And these are the 3 ways that you can listen. And then you have these questions here. Directions, just jot your answers in the right side of the note catcher. So number 1, what's the crucial time window Adnan cannot account for? I gave you a hint. 2, who's Rabia and why is she involved in the case? 3, there's a little preface before the question. So during the trial, which is 6 weeks long, the jury convicts Adnan in just several hours. The state's case was that Adnan dated Hay. He wasn't supposed to be dating because he was from a conservative Muslim family, but they were also healthy American teenagers who were going to do what teens do as long as they don't get caught. So the relationship was therefore a secret. And the state used that against Adnan in two ways. The first was he risked a lot to be with her. So when they broke up, he was left with outrage. And then obviously, because he was so angry, he killed her. And the second way that they used that against him was, well, he's a liar. He plays the good Muslim son when he's at home, but then he's up to all these things on the side. So that's reflective of his character. I want you to answer this question. What alternative point of view or perspective does Rabia give about those accusations above? So you could consider when she's speaking about children of immigrant parents. Think about that and use that to guide your answer. Number 4, why is Jay's story so important in the case? Cite one thing that you recall from Jay's story and why you think that might be important. Number 5, would you have asked Jay anything else? Do you believe him? That can go anyway. 6, Sarah Koenig asks why Adnan cares if Jay got Stephanie a present. Adnan responds by saying that Stephanie was a close friend and he wanted to make sure she also got a gift from him because she wanted one from him. Why does Koenig ask this, and what do you think it leads listeners, or where does it lead the audience to believe and think? Number 7, this is about word choice. Adnan uses words like probably, sometimes, usually when he's describing the day. What does this do for his story? Do you think that this is persuasive? Does it take away from his case? Do you think it's understandable? Just kind of reflect on his word choices throughout his conversations with Koenig. Number 8, what does Koenig do to try and verify Asia's story? Do you think that she has taken the necessary steps, Sarah, or is there something else she could have done? And number 9, do you believe Asia can be trusted? And more generally, can anybody's memory, after 15 years of something has happened, can that memory be trusted? Why or why not? So these are the 9 questions that I have you answering over the course of 53 minutes of listening time. There's also a reflection, which we will discuss tomorrow. I don't want anyone to do the reflection because the reflection is going to require that you use some of what we do during the class conversation time to build your response. And if you're not part of the online session, we can have a different conversation about what your reflection might look like. So those are questions 1 through 9. You can just go through them today and say, you know what, I don't want to even address the questions. I just want to listen to the podcast right now, and then I want to go back and answer the questions later. Or if you want to have this document open with you and start to type away as you listen, you're welcome to do that. It's whatever works best for you. The transcript is also available to you. It's posted on the stream. I'm just scrolling through it now. It's a really long document because it's a 53-minute podcast episode. So if you want to read through this, you can. If not, don't worry about it. It's just a resource there for you if you need it. It's also kind of good if you want to maybe listen and then use the transcript to go back in and help you answer some of the questions. That might be a strategy that works for you. Again, I'm just thinking of things of how you could approach this based off of your learning styles and your learning needs. And then the last thing I want to show you is the website. So this is the website for Serial. And you can also download the episode here if you want. And then if you click on episode 1, because this is what we're listening to, there's all of these items related to the episode itself, which is super cool. So in the beginning of the episode, there's a letter that Asia McClain writes to Adnan. The copy of this letter, the actual letter, is here. These were all things that were presented to the state, right, as evidence. There's an affidavit that Asia wrote. Maybe it's difficult to read her handwriting, but you can try. There's a timeline that's created for you. This is like something we could spend so much time looking at, and this might be overwhelming for you, but it goes through Adnan's timeline, Jay's second interview timeline, Jay's testimony and trial timeline. So just another interesting resource to look through. There's also Adnan's call log is there. This is the architectural plans of the Best Buy. So it's a layout of what the Best Buy parking lot looked like. Interesting. You could like really be a detective with a lot of this stuff in some ways. It's kind of cool. So my point in showing you all of this is that you have all these different pieces to kind of play with and look at and help really contextualize what you're listening to. And you know, it's an hour's worth of listening, but if you're using these documents to kind of really investigate and analyze what you're hearing, it might take you a bit more time, and that's fine. We're going to have all of Wednesday, all of Thursday, and all of Friday to just work with episode 1. And then we're going to see where we're at as a class in terms of episode 1. And that will dictate how we move forward with episodes 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and so on. So again, your only assignment today is we already previewed the questions. Start listening to the podcast. The transcript's there if you want, and you can start clicking around on the screen of the website with all of those resources that are there. Tomorrow, you just need to come to class with one talking point. That's all. Come to class with one talking point that you're comfortable discussing with your group. And this is, the last slide has the ways that you can begin listening. So if you were part of the online session, we'll have gone through this together and then we'll start listening as a group. If you're on your own right now, shoot me an email if you're confused, if you're not really sure what's what or how to click through certain things, and then set some time aside to begin listening to the podcast. It's okay if you listen to 30 minutes and 30 minutes, but you want to get through the whole podcast today. So use your time wisely and shoot me an email if you have any concerns. Okay, guys, thanks. Enjoy it.